how can you reconcile the Quran with Darwin's theory of evolution? Sister, I have not come across any book which says fact of evolution. All the books say theory of evolution. There is no book I have come across saying fact of evolution. If you read the book by Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species, it says that Charles Darwin went on an island by the name of Calotropis on a ship named as HMS Beagle. And there he found birds pecking at niches. Depending upon the ecological niches they pecked, the beaks, kept on becoming long and short. This observation was made in the same species, not in different species. Charles Darwin wrote a letter to his friend Thomas Thompson in 1861 saying, I do not believe in natural selection, the word that you used. I don't believe in theory of evolution because I've got any proof. I only believe in it because it helps me in classification of embryology, in morphology, in rudimentary organs. Charles Darwin himself said that there were missing links. He didn't agree with it. He himself said that there were missing links. Therefore, if I have to insult someone, that if you were present at Darwin's time, this theory would have been proved right, trying to insinuate that he looks like an ape. It's a joke we make. The reason that this theory, in most parts of the world, it is taught as good as fact. You know why? Even when I was in school, I learned about Darwin's theory. And even today they are taught. You know what the reason is, sister? The reason is because that if you analyze the church was against science previously. And you know the incidents that they sentenced Galileo to death. They sentenced Galileo to death. Why? Because he said certain statements in astronomy, etc., which went against the Bible, so they sentenced him to death, for which the Pope apologized now. So, when Charles Darwin came up with a theory which goes against the Bible, they didn't want any sufficient proof. An enemy of my enemy is my friend. So all the scientists, most of them, they support the theory because it went against the Bible, not because it was true. They only supported it because it went against the Bible. All the stages we have mentioned, sister, all the stages, Lucy, there were 4 hominids. Science tells us today there are 4 hominids. First is Lucy, along with its guide, the Australopithecus, which died about 3.5 million years, Ice Age. Then next came the Homo sapiens, who died about 500,000 years ago. Then came the Neanderthal man, who died 100 to 40,000 years ago. Then came the 4th stage, the Cro-Magnon. There is no link at all between these stages. According to P.P. Grasset, in 1971, who held the chair of evolutionary studies in Paris, in the Sorbonne University, he said, it is absurd. We cannot say who are ancestors based on fossils. I can give you a list of hundreds of scientists and Nobel Prize winners who speak against Darwin's theory. Hundreds. If you know of Sir Albert Georgi, who got the Nobel Prize for inventing the vitamin C, he wrote a book, The Crazy Ape and Man, against Darwin's theory. Again, if you read Sir Fred Hoyle's work, he wrote several works against Darwin's theory. If you know about Rupert Stalbert, this person wrote a new theory of evolution against Darwin's theory. It's unthinkable. We cannot think that we are created from the apes. If you know of Sir Frank Salisbury, he was a biologist. He said it is illogical to believe in Darwin's theory. If you know about Whitemead, Sir Whitemead, he wrote a book against Darwin's theory. He was also a biologist. Several, you can give a list of hundreds. Today it is taught in the schools. Why? I told you. Media is in their hand. Otherwise, there's no proof at all. There are certain proofs at lower levels. An amoeba at lower species level, amoeba can change to paramecia. Quran does not say amoeba cannot change to paramecia. Quran does not say. If they have got proof, can be possible. It's not against the Quran. But there's no proof at all. People talk about molecular biology theory. They talk about genetic coding. According to Francis Crick, who's authority in this field, he said it is unimaginable. Again, if you do that ratio, the probability of one DNA forming from ape to human being is again 0. If I start calculating, I think we'll get bored again. You know the calculation I told you for one protein molecule? It is somewhat similar from one DNA. It is not possible at all. You know, there was a theory recently that homosexuality is genetic. And when I read in the Times of India, I thought, surely, the moment I attend the next lecture on Sunday in IRF, I'll be asked this question. If homosexuality is genetic, how can Allah blame us? Quran speaks against homosexuality. And I said that, see, this is a theory. Wait till it gets established. It's a theory. Don't comment on that. Within the matter of span of this few months, it was proved to be illogical. And the person who propounded this theory that homosexuality is genetic himself was an homosexual. Therefore I said, I'm going to give my talk on scientific facts, not on theories and assumptions. Darwin's theory has not been proven. We have not been created from ape. There are hundreds of scientists who speak against that, and Quran speaks against that also. Quran says the first man was Adam, peace be upon him. Inshallah, they'll discover it 100 years afterwards, or maybe 1,000 years afterwards. Today there is research showing that human beings have been created from one pair. Again, it's just a theory. It supports the Quranic verse that human beings have been created from one pair, male and female. It's just a theory, therefore I don't quote that in my talk. Inshallah, it will be established 50 years afterwards or 100 years afterwards. Then we'll know that Quran conciliates.
There's one thing about Zakir Naik that makes people really think that he knows what he's talking about, and that's when he's able to share facts randomly and very quickly from the top of his head in such a manner that makes you think, wow, he is a really intelligent man. But a friend of mine sat down and went through a 5-minute talk of his once, and in that 5 minutes he was able to make over 25 mistakes.
Charles Darwin went on an island by the name of Calotropis.
There is no such island as the Calotropis Islands anywhere. It was actually the Galapagos Islands that Darwin visited, where he found finches.
And there he found birds pecking at niches.
These finches do not peck at niches, as Naik says. They lived in separate ecological niches.
Depending upon the ecological niches they pecked, the beak kept on becoming long and short.
The differences Darwin observed between these finches were far more than simply beak length. They included differences in color, size, mating behavior, songs, and preferred food.
This observation was made in the same species, not in different species.
Darwin's observations of varying beaks were made on 14 different species of finches, not just one, as Dr. Naik claims. The beak length actually did not vary within the species.
Charles Darwin wrote a letter to his friend Thomas Thompson.
All of Darwin's published correspondence is printed and even available electronically online, and it contains no record of anyone named Thomas Thrompton.
Charles Darwin himself said that there were missing links. He didn't agree with it.
Darwin admitted that there were missing links, but that does not mean he disagreed with his own theory. He simply predicted where the missing links would be found.
The reason is because that if you analyze the church was against science previously.
The church was never against science. Almost all the great European scientists of Galileo's time, including Galileo, were devout Christians. People like Newton, Copernicus, Kepler, Boyle, Linnaeus, Pascal were all committed believers in the Bible.
And you know the incidents that they sentenced Galileo to death.
Galileo, a devout Catholic, was never sentenced to death. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on June 22nd, 1633, and then that sentence was commuted to house arrest. He died more than 8 years later on the evening of January 8th, 1642, of old age. Galileo believed that his theories fit with the Bible, and he wrote a book arguing this based on early interpretations of Christians like Augustine. Naik goes on to make the same false statement 2 more times, but let's only count it as one factual error.
So all the scientists, most of them, they support the theory because it went against the Bible, not because it was true.
Actually, most scientists did not support Darwin's theory for many years, and most of these same scientists revered the Bible. Basically, this account by Dr. Naik is a total fabrication.
All the sages, Lucy, there were 4 hominids.
Everything Dr. Naik says here is wrong. There is no such word as hominites. He must mean hominids.
Science tells us there are 4 hominids.
There are not a mere 4 hominids. There are at least 14.
First is Lucy, along with its guide Australopithecus.
There is no such hominid as Dasnopithecus. Lucy was an Australopithecus afarensis.
which died about 3.5 million years, the Ice Age.
The Ice Age was not 3 1/3 million years ago. It was between 1.6 million years and 10,000 years ago.
Then next came the Homo sapiens, who died about 500,000 years ago.
Homo sapiens did not die out 500,000 years ago. You and I, and even Zakir Naik, are Homo sapiens.
Then came the Neanderthal man.
According to evolutionary theory, Neanderthal man was not on the direct line to modern man, but an Ice Age offshoot.
The Neanderthal man, we died 100 to 40,000 years ago.
Neanderthal man went extinct 30,000 years ago, not 100 to 40,000 years ago.
Then came the fourth stage, the Cro-Magnon.
Cro-Magnon man is the same thing as Homo sapiens, which Naik had mentioned as a different earlier species.
There is no link at all between these stages.
Actually, evolutionary biologists have found many examples of what they claim to be links between these stages. For example, Homo habilis, Homo ergaster, and Homo heidelbergensis.
If you know of Sir Albert Georgi, who got the Nobel Prize for inventing the vitamin C.
Georgi didn't invent vitamin C, he discovered it. Vitamin C is a naturally occurring substance that doesn't need to be invented.
He wrote a book, The Crazy Ape and Man, against Darwin's theory.
Albert said Georgi's book was not called The Crazy Ape and Man, but simply The Crazy Ape, and it was not a refutation of evolution, but a sociological commentary.
If you know about Rupert Stalbert, this person wrote a new theory of evolution against Darwin's theory.
Who is Rupert Stalbert? I can find no trace of anybody with that name.
From the apes. If you know of Sir Frank Salisbury, he was a biologist.
Naik quotes one unknown person after another. Who is Sir Frank Salisbury? Again, vigorous searching can find no trace of anybody with that name. But to give Naik the benefit of the doubt, this will not be counted as a factual error.
If you know about white meat, Sir Whitemeat.
White meat? Who is Sir Whitemeat? For the fourth time, no trace can be found of anybody with this name.
At lower levels, an amoeba, at lower species level, amoeba can change to paramecia.
There is no such thing as paramecia. Perhaps he means paramecium. But the evolutionary change of an amoeba to a paramecium is far more dramatic biologically than the relatively small biological difference between apes and humans.
According to Francis Crick, who's authority in this field, he said it is unimaginable.
There is no such person as Francis Crick. Naik probably means Francis Crick, the co-discoverer of DNA. Francis Crick believes fully in evolution.
I wish you were here next to me. Been missing your song so desperately. But lately I feel like you feel, and I see what you see, how I'm
What happened to the
missing
I once
you.
known so well?
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. في سكون العين أدعو في سجودي، والدجى حولي سواد في سوادي. يا رؤوفا يا رحيما يا حليما، يا كريما ما لفضلك من نفادي. يا سميعا يا مجيبا يا عظيما، اهدني يا خالق السبع الشهاد. اشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي، حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري، يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. اشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي، حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري، يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. للهدى والحق وفقني إلهي، فعلى توفيقك اليوم اعتمادي. يا إله الكون يا عوني وغوثي، يا ملاذ الخلق في يوم المعاد. أنا يا ربي أرجو منك عفوا، فاعف عن ذنبي وحقق لي مرادي. نفسي بنور من فؤادي، حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري، يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. اشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي، حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري، يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Oh my Lord, my sins are like the highest mountain. My good deeds are very few, they're like a small pebble. I turn to you, my heart full of shame, my eyes full of tears.